Yes, yeah, like 3 minutes, because after won't be here. Welcome to LIFITV here at the Leeds International Festival of Ideas, where it's night 3, and David Baddiel is here to ask, can you be a religious atheist? Hello, David. Good timing.
Hello. Lovely to be here.
Could there be a more pertinent question in the world at the moment?
Oh, probably. It's interesting that some music started just as you asked that question, almost as if God didn't want me to ask that question. Just thought, I'm going to stop this whole conversation. It's getting louder.
It is, yeah.
Well, you may know that originally that wasn't the question. Originally, the question I was meant to be here asking was, what was it? Is religion the ultimate culture war?
Mm-hmm.
And I said I didn't want to do that because I don't like the phrase culture war. It's a made-up phrase of the internet. And also, I don't really know the answer. Well, I do know the answer. Religion is not the ultimate culture war.
Yeah.
And I thought, I wrote a book called The God Desire. And The God Desire is a book about how I basically am an atheist partly because I really want God to exist. And my deep, deep desire for God to exist in a slightly depressive way tells me he doesn't. Because what's anything that I want to happen, I feel won't.
Yeah.
Right? You know, I feel much the same. I used to fancy Farrah Fawcett Mages. You know, that never happened.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the metaphor, because I was going to use something similar, but now I can skip past it.
I don't know if Farrah Fawcett Mages is just too old.
Now, maybe.
Yeah. I used to fancy the blonde one out of ABBA.
Yeah.
That's better, isn't it?
That's all 4 of them, though.
Yeah, that is a lot of them.
Yeah. Was it a play on the God delusion? Was it sort of a...
You know what? It wasn't meant to be, but obviously it seems like, and every so often someone will say, so you wrote the God delusion, and I'll see it listed as the God delusion. Obviously it's the God duh, so I've just got to expect that. Yeah. But no, I mean, the God delusion, it's valuable in one way, in that I claim that the book is an atheist book that's different from most atheist books, insofar as the book does not dismiss religion at all. It's deeply atheist. I am fundamentalist atheist, but I have quite a lot of time for religion, because I think if you want to understand what it means to be human, you have to talk about why it is that culture after culture after culture has created this narrative in different ways of a supernatural being who is in some way gives meaning to life. And it seems to me like the God desire, the God delusion, and God is not great, and all the very, very good new atheist books come from a slightly macho position of like, I hate religion, it's nonsense, it's fairy tale. And I think that is incurious. I think I say in the book that people who say that religion is just fairy tale don't understand how interesting fairy tales are.
That's fascinating. If only we could have Christopher Hitchens on, eh?
That would be great to have Christopher Hitchens.
It'd be amazing.
And religious people would feel that he still walks among us.
Yeah.
That would be an interesting thing, wouldn't it?
Yes,
if you could bring Christopher Hitchens back from the dead, even though he was an atheist.
Are you asking, was Christopher Hitchens Jesus?
No, I'm asking whether or not Christopher Hitchens would in some way like to come back from the dead, even though he was a... Do you know, one of the interesting things, I talk about this in the book as well, is that there's a lot of fuss in religious conversation about deathbed conversions. People are always going on about so-and-so, you know, actually turned into, became a believer on their deathbed.
Yeah, Charles Darwin being the famous one.
Well, there's loads of others, Thomas Paine and all sorts of others. And in fact, Frank Skinner, who's a religious person, once said to me that there's no atheists in foxholes. And people on planes and whatever that are going down are said to cry out for God. And what I always think about that is that's not an argument for the existence of God. That's an argument for the existence of fear. There's all sorts of things you might say when you're in terrible pain and you see the void approaching. That has nothing to do with like whether or not God actually exists.
Yeah.
So I don't know I doubt that Christopher Hitchens changed his mind though. But I want to know if God did exist, whether or not he's now thinking shit or, oh, good.
Yeah. I'd be amazed if that was a true story about the change of heart.
Yeah,
I'd really amazed. No.
But there are lots of people who there is a fuss about.
Yes, yeah.
About it.
And just a final question for you then. Obviously, you're here on stage in Leeds at the International Festival of Ideas. Very important to have these discussions. We're having some, wide-ranging discussions this week on who rules the world, where are all the good men? And we're talking about domestic abuse in the other theatre tonight. Why do you think it's important to get people in a room to discuss these huge ideas in the world?
I don't know. I think it's interesting because I do my own shows that are sort of, stand-up shows or storytelling shows or whatever. And then every so often I do a literary festival, which I'm talking about a book. And then every so often I do this, which is a actual conversation about a topic where it's just me and some other person talking about a difficult and interesting topic. And sometimes I think people pay for that. It's like, that's something you could do at home. But I'm glad they do, because for a start, I really welcome, which I hope tonight's going to happen, loads of people chiming in from the audience. These are important conversations, and it's good to have them in an entertaining way that feels like, okay, there's a sort of freedom to talk, because we live in a time where people feel, worried about what they say, worried about whether they can or can't say X, Y, and Z. And I kind of think if you can do it on a stage like this, me and Mona Siddiqui, where we can be free-ranging and hopefully funny and interesting, insightful and respectful, then I think that fear could be dispelled about like, oh, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. So I hope when people are listening and want to ask questions, they feel free to do so. Yeah.
And it's really encouraging that there's the appetite, as you say, you see people like Sam Harris selling out sort of arena tours around the United States, don't you? So
I wouldn't mind doing that.
Yeah, you should do that.
Sam should ask me.
He should
join in.
Have you been on Sam's podcast?
I haven't, and I don't know why. Ricky Gervais has, who is an atheist, but I'm a better atheist.
David, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it here on LIFITV at the Leeds International Festival of Ideas. You'll find much more from LIFITV on the website.